I recently visited a university in South Florida, and they shared what skills employers are currently seeking. In fact, it's the top 4 skills that employers repeatedly talk about that they're looking for with new college graduates. Regardless of where you are on your career growth journey, I think you owe it to yourself to listen to today's show. 4 skills employers are consistently seeking. Whether you're a new college graduate, you're college bound, or you've been out in the field for quite some time, I think you deserve to know what these employers are continuing to look for today and see how your skills stack up. It never hurts to polish up your strengths and improve on your weaknesses. Please join me as we start our next episode of the Career Growth Made Easy podcast. I was an engineer, and in 2008, lost my job due to the economic collapse. Jobs were scarce. I didn't know where to turn to get help updating my resume. Online services and coaches charge hundreds, even thousands of dollars. I took matters into my own hands and learned how to craft interview-winning resumes. Shortly later, I landed a job with a Fortune 500 company. I've helped many achieve similar success. Now I share my tips to create interview-winning resumes, interviewing excellence, and high-performance growth strategies on my podcast, Career Growth Made Easy. Welcome back to the Career Growth Made Easy podcast. I'm your host, Craig Ansell. I can't thank you enough for returning for yet another episode and let you know that I really appreciate you as one of my valued listeners. Today's show is going to be interesting because if you've listened to some of my other shows about, for example, resumes and interviews, if you wish you could be a fly on the wall, if you wish you could have x-ray glasses, if you wish you could put a listening device, a bug in an interview room and understand why did that person get called in for an interview? Why did that person get hired? Why did that person get a job offer and I'm not? Well, we're kind of doing the same thing today, but from a different viewpoint. Recently, I had the opportunity to visit a university in South Florida. They shared that they were part of NACE, N-A-C-E, the National Association of Colleges as Employers. It was quite interesting because with this NACE program, I believe they conduct surveys and they hold meetings with the employers to find out what are the most commonly defined attributes, the traits, the skills that they're seeking. What are the most commonly desired skills that you and I should have if we're going to be coming out of college, getting ready for the job world? What do we need to get ready? And I think that's the cool part. That's kind of like insider knowledge being shared. Why would they do this and yet for free? Because the more prepared we are to enter the job world, the more successful employers will be, the more successful companies will be, and colleges will get more enrollment, colleges will get more throughput, but not just in volume only, but in quality throughput. Because they're working with companies, businesses, small and large, they get to be that fly on the wall. What is that company looking for when they interview? What does it take to change the needle, to move the needle forward when it comes time for a resume, or interviewing what's going to really check the box, get you that potential opportunity for a follow-up interview or a job offer. So what I've done for today's show is distill that down. I've distilled it down into the 4 top skills employers are consistently seeking. And I'm going to share those with you today, and then we're going to walk through them to make sure that you and I have a clear understanding of what they mean. It's all centered around, believe it or not, soft skills. Now, if you're not familiar, we're going to dive into those today. But really, what happens, we think about hard skills, our training, our education, our knowledge, even our hands-on experience. Those are hard skills, things that you can physically do to produce hard physical product, physical labor, services, things of that nature. And that knowledge is important. You need to have that hard knowledge. The problem, though, is if you have a classroom full of students and you're all preparing to graduate, thinking that, well, let's use this example. You've used or gone through similar or same courses. You're all equivalently the same. Some will have higher grades, some lower. The courses will vary, right? And the grades will vary as you kind of take a mix to get to the end of your graduation date and get your diploma, but at the end, you come out with a degree, and it's in a specific major. Congratulations, you deserve to be acknowledged for that. However, how do you separate yourself? What makes you diverse out there? What makes you different from the competitors, your fellow classmates? Now you're going out into the job force. Now, It's true, when you interview, there might be openings for more than one position. In that aspect of it, you might be interviewing up against a fellow classmate, a fellow graduate. What's going to make you succeed? What's going to make you shine and excel above and beyond them? Or maybe both of you get picked because there's 2+ openings. So although it is competition, it doesn't have to be an aggressive style competition. It can just be you wanting to improve. With that said, your hard skills are what they are. Your hands-on skills, your knowledge, your book smarts, your training. You can continue to do that and continue to improve. However, where these employers continue to see challenges and concerns is with our soft skills. And as I mentioned, those are the 4 key things we're going to talk about today, soft skills and 4 key areas. And those areas are communication, collaboration, and teamwork. The final thing we have is the effectiveness and efficiency in those areas, those 4 key areas. If you don't have your communication, collaboration, teamwork, you cannot be effective and efficient in that. Now, one other thing I would say is a semi-soft skill along with a hard skill would be your writing effectiveness, your writing efficiency. Although it's a mix of hard and soft skills, communication comes in various forms. So, of course, we have our verbal communication, our spoken language. We then have our body language, which I'm going to get into a little bit. And then we have written communication. It may literally be with the old pen and pencil, the old days. It could be texting. It certainly can be email. And it certainly can be creating documentation on, say, Microsoft Word or some other type of word processing tool, writing long form and short form composed material. So those are the key areas: communication, collaboration, teamwork, and then writing. And those have a mixture of needs for soft skills, efficiency, and your effectiveness working together. Now, there's a slight differentiation between efficiency and effectiveness. I'd say efficiency is it's how quickly a task gets done, all right? It's more time-related. And then effectiveness is how well it gets done. So companies are looking for both of those aspects of it when it comes to communication and these soft skills. So remember that, efficiency and effective. Efficiency is how quickly a task would get done, and effective is how well it gets done. So one is time-based and one is quality-based, if that makes sense. So thinking about these things, these 4 categories, starting off with your soft skills, communication. How well do you communicate? Do you know that it was in those 3 categories I mentioned when you communicate? Your written, your body language, and verbal? Have you ever been told that you're really strong at writing? Hey, that might be something to note. That might be something to focus on during an interview. How about, though, your verbal communication? Are you someone that commonly does most of the speaking? Almost find yourself getting out of breath and taking a short, quick breath. And I got to tell you some more about this. It was so exciting. And oh my gosh, the other day I saw this accident. It was horrible. And a car tire exploded. And then and if you're in a hurry like that, do you take time to listen to what you're saying? Do you take time to compose your thoughts? You might want to slow your speech rate down. You might want to plan a little bit more ahead so that you pause in between your main points, your key points. Pause between sentences or short paragraphs. Allow others the time to absorb. Allow others the time to respond. So communication, when it comes down to the verbal nature of things, there's something called effective communication, effective listening. And you want to make sure that while you get the time to speak and share your information, your viewpoint, your knowledge, you also pause. Let them share their viewpoints, their response, their knowledge, their opinion of what you just offered. Once you've done that, do you truly listen when they're speaking, or are you gearing up, wanting to respond with some new information, some additional information? It's very common in our world today that we feel uncomfortable with silence, and that silence can cause us to have some concerns. It can cause us to be anxious. It can cause us to become nervous, and it can be uncomfortable if the pause is too lengthy, if the silence is too lengthy. If you go back and listen to some of your previous discussions, if you were to have recorded them, you might find that these pauses, these moments of silence, are fractions of a second. Many of them are barely a second long. Some may be longer when there's, say, a deep breath or something like that. But most of the time, the silence is so brief. And yet somehow it can make us feel uncomfortable, that we might want to stick in filler words, the ums, the uhs, the ahs. So think about that when it comes to one of your first key skills, your soft skills with communication. Effective communication also means effective listening, speaking as well as listening. And then on the other parts of that, the body language. Does your body language, the actions, the stature at which you stand or sit, does that mirror the words coming out of your mouth, the energy, the volume, the spoken word? If you're excited, is your body excited? Are you using your hands to show motion and energy? If you're sad, do those words match that? Or is there a mixed bag? Is it mixed communication? Your body posture needs to, I suggest, amplify, mirror, or clone your verbal structure with which you're speaking the content. So think about that. If you've ever, played cards or some type of a game where maybe you're gambling or, playing something for competition, they say they can read your poker face. It's about looking at your face and seeing if your eyes, your face, your posture is telling something about the cards, the game pieces that you hold. And if you say, oh, I'm going to, win the next hand, or I'm attacking with these set of cards, and you really don't have it, maybe because you smiled a little bit or something, that's a tell. So I don't want to get into this too much detail, as I have other episodes about interviewing excellence, but this does also play a role in your interviewing skills, because if you build up your soft skills, that includes your word choice, your body language, and your listening skills. Moving on into the other 2 to 3 pieces, your collaboration. Do you collaborate? Do you work well with others? You need to be able to take instruction from others, be able to contribute, and then go off and work on your own as an individual. Then come back and collaborate, work together. That's part of that other action we talked about, or area, is teamwork. It's important to work together as teams. Everybody should have a little bit of a competitive nature about themselves, meaning that you and I are trying to do the best we can. However, teamwork is also about collaborating. You don't want to outshine your fellow colleagues and people that you're interviewing with to the point where you're putting them down, making fun of them, disrespecting them. Even in an interview, you may end up finding out that there's multiple positions open, and rather than trying to be the best of the best, you want to be one of the best, but you may not be the only best candidate for that chosen role. You may be one of them. So thinking about it that way, you want to be respectful. That way you can work in teams as well as separately when you break off and maybe breakout groups or individual study, individual work. In the end, they're hiring you. They may hire others, but their interview is with you to see how well you can perform, how well you can be effective, how well you can be efficient. From there then, working in that team, it's not just plopping you down with a group of people and saying, now work as a team. It's also about that collaboration aspect that they're looking for, one of those key 4 skills that employers are consistently seeking. Collaborate, to coordinate, to work together, to brainstorm, to be productive and produce something of value. That could be physical product, it could be soft product, software, it could be a service, you could be creating a document. It could be workflow, could be process document. It all depends what job you're applying for and what your outcome is, what your job and task expectations are. In working on your communication, your collaboration and teamwork, those soft skills are critical. Talking about it again, as we start to get to the last item, writing. Your writing effectiveness. Are you effective and are you efficient in writing? If you've already got that skill nailed down, excellent. Many of us do because maybe we prefer to not be in close quarter environments and we're good working alone. However, we need to be able to write with our intended audience in mind. What is our task? What is our job requirement for this position? When you look at your job description and you're preparing for an interview or with the consideration to receive an interview, how well are you writing? How well do you read the written documentation provided to you? Do you answer and meet all the requirements when you apply for a job? Do you try to stretch things and go around the rules when there's a certain job requirement? Or do you have all the skills, hard skills and soft skills to meet those job requirements? Then finally, in talking about what employers are consistently looking for, they're consistently seeking, I'll tell you this. There's job requirements, the need to haves, and then there's the want to haves. There's the preferences. If you can ever meet those requirements and feel good about wanting to apply for that job, feeling like you're a good fit, that's excellent. You almost are envisioning, before you've even applied, working there because you feel like you're a good fit. You match the company's requirements, their expectations, possibly their mission or vision statements on their website. That's an excellent feeling. What would be a cherry on top? What would put icing on the cake? It would be meeting their preferences. The preferred candidate would have. And then it's these other sets of skills, hard or soft. And if you happen to have those, say bilingual, trilingual, or you're excellent with written communication, whatever it may be, make sure that you emphasize that somehow on your job application or resume, or I should say and resume, as well as mention that during the interview. Is there anything else that we should know about you, Craig? Craig, if you had to pick one of your top 3 skills, one of your top 3 capabilities, what would you say they are? And then discuss that for a moment. That's what I'm talking about with you. Job requirements as well as job preferences. When you meet those and then you start to exceed their expectations, that's the great news, because not everybody's going to have the skill set you have. And that's what differentiates you and I from the others. We go above and beyond, listening to podcasts like Career Growth Made Easy, studying, researching, getting to small teams, small groups, collaborating, trying to hit these 4 skills employers are consistently seeking. This is what's going to make you different. Self-education, self-taught, rather than just repeatedly listening to music, enjoying that, nothing wrong with that. But every now and then, put in some educational content. It'll really help you on your job search going forward, especially as you start to gain interviews. You'll have these areas to talk about. You could bring up NACE, N-A-C-E, or the fact that you listen to educational podcasts because you like to grow and you like to try to improve yourselves, better yourself. I'm Craig Ansell, and you've been listening to the Career Growth Made Easy podcast. Thank you for listening to episode 202, 4 Skills Employers Are Consistently Seeking. I always would appreciate your feedback on whatever podcast player you're listening to. Just click the reviews, give me a 5-star rating if I deserve it, and leave a few comments. I'd always like to understand how I can serve you better and make better content for the future. God bless you. We'll talk soon. Thanks for watching. If you've enjoyed this episode, be sure to subscribe to our channel. New episodes every Monday. In the meantime, why don't you follow us on social media at Craig Ansell on Facebook, LinkedIn, and Instagram. To book a coaching appointment, download our free guides, or join our email list, check out the links in the description below.